You're here because you want to get more life out of life, and you're looking for some actionable ways to make that happen. What you're about to watch is the distillation of 3 years of soul searching with over 200 books read and countless conversations. I am someone who thrives when challenged. Now, it's my job to challenge others so they too can thrive. That's what I hope you'll find here. A way to challenge yourself, to push yourself. We have a lifetime of habits that we need to break free from. But just like learning how to juggle balls, every time we fail, we need to get back up and try again. During this video, I'll explain the importance of a longevity mindset and why juggling your time between your mind, your body, and your money is crucial. Of course, we'll delve into how you can grow in each of these areas and what you can do to get started. Right now, you might feel like you're juggling too much or you drop the ball and you don't really know what to do next. That's fine. You're here because you're ready to start doing something. Welcome to Life Jugglers. Let's begin. For most of human history, we have lived in a linear world. Things either stayed the same or got incrementally better. You kept the seeds from the highest producing crops one year to get a bigger, better crop the next year. Then, the Industrial Revolution began an explosive reaction. Technology started changing faster than ever. And now, AI has gotten in the mix, and it's only going to get faster. Jobs are made obsolete one after the other. Our grandparents could start a job fresh out of high school or even without a diploma and do that job until they retired. We will be lucky if our skills keep us relevant for more than 5 years. Continued personal growth has gone from a thing reserved for the super motivated to necessary for everyone. In a weird way, society has made this growth both easier and harder. Thanks to the internet, it's easier than ever to access all sorts of information. Also, thanks to the internet, we have unlimited distractions designed to poke our pleasure button and keep us mindlessly engaged. That's where juggling comes in. We need to replace boastful multitasking with a new superpower: single tasking. Multitasking is just single tasking multiple things in parallel, often pretty badly. When you're juggling your tasks, you only work on one thing at a time. You do this, and then you do that, and then you do this. There's not this and that. There's only ever this. Work for a time, then rest for a time, then get your blood pumping, then do some more work, taking advantage of your ultradian rhythm. That's how you get amazing results. Not by plowing through, but by switching before it gets too easy or it gets boring. Humans, like yeast, need a challenge to thrive. Hold up. Yeast? Let me unpack that one a little bit, because you might not be as familiar with those little buggers as I am. I studied yeast thoroughly as a winemaker, which is basically just a glorified biochemist. As an undergraduate, I experimented with the impact of nutrient on yeast growth. Yeast are these small things. They grow in numbers, not in size. And to do this, they need nitrogen, just like we need protein to build muscle. What you eat matters, even for yeast. Nitrogen can come in two forms: direct or indirect. The direct being like us having a protein shake, and the indirect being like us having a nice meal. My experiment was to find out which source is most useful when yeast are in a stressful condition. Yeast fed the nitrogen, the direct form, started off super strong, multiplying quickly and eating lots of sugar. Yum, 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 yum. In contrast, the yeast that was fed the complex diet started sluggish, slowly multiplying and eating the sugar at a more leisurely pace, essentially savoring their meal. Who do you think was stronger? The fast eaters or the savorers? You guessed it. The yeast that had been fed the complex diet, the savorers, out-survived the fast eaters. They had to work harder for their nitrogen, which made them pace themselves. The fast eaters burned through their supplies and then died. The savorers did the job to the end. Now, we're slightly more complicated than yeast. We have eyes, arms, and a whole bunch of other things. But we are similar to yeast in the sense that we thrive under pressure. When things are easy, we get bored, look for an escape. When things are too hard, we give up in frustration. However, when things are appropriately challenging, we transcend the situation, entering a state that Csikszentmihalyi called flow. We can only get in the flow when we're doing something that we consider meaningful. Hence, meaning comes from challenging yourself, at least mildly. When you regularly challenge yourself, mentally, physically, and financially, you get to spend more time in the state of flow, which leads to better results. Better results leads to more opportunities, and more opportunities lead to a happy, fulfilling life. Isn't that what you want? We've only just started to scratch the surface. So let's delve into these three areas and see what you need to juggle a happy, fulfilling life, starting with the mind ball. Because with a healthy mind, it's easier to get a healthy body and earn more money. While countless things can influence your mental well-being, for the sake of simplicity, I have narrowed it down to three: calm, create, and community. As you can probably tell, I'm a big advocate for mindfulness. As a result, several of the activities I run my clients through during the Life Jugglers program revolve around some sort of mindfulness practice. Meditation, the ultimate form of mindfulness, has been described as shaving away the insanity. Still, it's often seen as a waste of time by those who don't do it. Even if they know its value, they don't find the time to do it. Meditation works because it's uncomfortable, not in spite of it. It's often the most productive part of my day. Have you ever tried just sitting there listening to your breath for a while? You get distracted. It's challenging. Even if you're in a line or you're waiting for something, your mind immediately starts to wander. What's for dinner? What's the weather like this weekend? What am I doing with my life? It's terrifying. So we block it out with distractions. Before we even have the chance to get bored, we distract ourselves because we're scared of that empty space. It's easier for us to avoid looking directly into the uncomfortable situation. But it's crucial that we do. Danger is real. Fear is in the mind. The more you look away from something, the bigger and scarier it gets. When instead, you decide to turn towards the thing, then it gets smaller. Something a lot of people would consider pretty scary is jumping out of a plane with a parachute. I'm also one of those people, but I did it anyways. When I went skydiving in New Zealand, I had bigger problems. On the drive to the airport, my car started to feel a bit sluggish. Now, I'm no mechanic, but I was pretty sure I blew the engine. The temperature gauge had gone from its happy middle ground to far beyond the red zone. Luckily, we were at our destination. But that was still 2 hours away from where we called home, and we could be stranded there. But whatever. There's no time to deal with the car right now. There's a plane to jump out of, and the weather's not getting any nicer. So we suited up and we got on the plane. The car was a problem for later. Falling face first, 200 kilometers an hour, is a great distraction. It's hard enough to breathe let alone think about what I'm going to do about my car. From the time the door opened at 13,000 feet until I stood up on the grass, I was totally immersed in the moment. I was skydiving. Then, as soon as I stood up, I remembered, I have a car. That car has a problem. And cars are cooled by water. So maybe I can put some water in the radiator and see what happens. So that's what I did. I put some water in the radiator and it was leaking out. Okay, cool. 20 minutes later, I'd put this magical solution in the radiator that patched the hole and we were on our way home. Before the jump, I was in a stressed, reactive mindset, unable to think about anything but my car. We are screwed. We are stuck. What are we going to do? Then the jump, let's call it a forceful meditation, created enough space between me and the problem that I could see a solution. What problems might you solve if you could distance yourself from them? Your problems will probably be different than mine. But whatever they are, mindfulness can help you get better results. It shaves away the distractions, giving you the calm you need to accomplish great things. What about fun? What do you do for fun? Solving problems doesn't have to be only for work. In a world hyper-focused on productivity for money, we also need to spend some time just doing something for fun. Whether it's making videos or memes or playing an instrument, doing something new just because you want to do it is motivating. It boosts your well-being and is a source of new ideas. Most of our days are dictated by the things we have to do. When it gets to be too much, these have-tos become should-dos. I should go for a run. I should eat less cake. I should call my mom. We should all over ourselves because it feels great. But it accomplishes nothing. Instead of doing new things, we fall back on what's easy and comfortable. At the end of a big day at work, we should do something good. Then we dig into a piece of cake in front of our laptops, watching just one more episode as another night slips away. We're too ambitious. There's big ideas and they're overwhelming, so we never get started. Instead of looking at the big idea and all the problems that come with it, go have some fun. Think, what about that idea excites me? And just do that. Build momentum and the rest will come. Our news feeds are overstuffed with people blowing their own horn about how awesome they are. If you just give them a bit of your money, you can be awesome too. What those people often fail to say is they weren't always great. I didn't always speak like this. I did 3 years of public speaking courses to be at least this good, and there's still a lot of room for growth. Before we can become the clean, polished version that you see, you need to be bad at something. The difference between the polished version that you often see on social media and those that you don't is that they started by having fun with it and they kept doing it. Because they kept doing their thing, they got better at it. Now they're great at it because they've put in the time and the effort to be great. But before you can be great, you need to be pretty okay. And to be pretty okay, you just need to start. Whatever endeavor you're curious to start doing, have fun with it. The fun will motivate you. It will keep you going. And over time, you'll get better at it until it's you who inspires others. If the things you do for fun are mindless, they're not helping you. They're wasting your valuable time. When you depend on others for your entertainment, you are dependent on an external source for joy. Be independent. Own your joy. Once you own your joy, You'll connect with others who share your passion. Community, the third C of the mental ball, is probably the most important for longevity. The people you surround yourself with, your circle, have the strongest impact on who you are. Yet many of us face the same question. How do you make friends as an adult? I struggled with this question when I moved to Vienna. I've been struggling with it ever since I left Canada, ever since I left my hometown. But in Vienna, for once, I had a plan. I would move into a flat where there were people that spoke English and they would be my friend. The problem was, they were all students and I wasn't. We had such different life experiences that it was hard for us to connect. My theory was wrong. I needed to experiment with other meetups based on my interests, meditation, investment, French, whatever, until I found something that clicked. Toastmasters, that public speaking course, that place I went to learn public speaking. I had never wanted to learn public speaking. I was just experimenting, trying to find people to hang out with. I didn't consider myself good or bad at it. It wasn't even something that's on my radar until I joined the club and realized this is where I belong. The people there were just like me, introverted, curious, often foreign. Suddenly, I wasn't the weird one in the room. I was in a weird room where I belonged. To discover where you belong, you need to ask lots of questions, both to yourself and to those around you. Think of some things that have interested you, then ask other people about them. That's how you make friends. It sounds selfish, I know. But when you ask other people about the things that interest you, you'll actually care about the answer. Community is built on the back of good questions. The more interesting you find the answer, the more likely the person you're speaking with is to become a friend. The problem is, most of us ask either boring questions or no questions. We talk about our interests instead of asking about them. It disconnects us from the conversation. No one likes to be talked at, but we love to be asked questions. Conversations get a lot more interesting when we stop talking about ourselves and we start asking about our interests. Because then we put the focus on the other person and we care about the answer. That's why asking other people about your interests is a great way to have a conversation. It focuses the conversation on what interests you. If you want to make friends, ask yourself, what do I want to talk about? Then ask them. Do you want to talk about money? Juggling the money ball is simple. Live below your means. That's it. Done. On to the money ball. That's it. Done. On to the body ball. Okay, maybe it's not quite that simple. There are two ways to live. There are two ways to live below your means. Spend less or earn more. Until spend less or earn more. Until the money you earn is more than the money you need. While I lived as a traveling winemaker, I had to learn to be frugal. I spent years working an average of 9 months a year for a pretty okay wage. I had to save enough money during that period to carry me for the rest. Not always an easy task when you're traveling. The first step was disconnecting how much I earned from how much I spent. Because when you don't know when your next paycheck is going to come, or if you know it's going to be in a couple of months, you don't have the luxury of just spending freely. If you've ever been a student, you're probably familiar with these boom and bust cycles. You work during the summer and then you spend during the school year. When your income is inconsistent, you need to control your spending. Even if your income is consistent, it's still better to control your spending. The most powerful strategy for controlling your expenses is to monitor your spending. When you monitor your spending, you make it obvious, decreasing the chance that you'll spend on unessentials. Nowadays, most banks do this automatically, and there's a whole bunch of apps that'll do it for you. But there is a difference between knowing and doing. Monitoring is most effective at controlling your spending when you do it manually, longhand. That means every time you spend money, you record it somewhere. I usually use a Google Sheet for this. It works because it creates a little bit of friction in the transaction. That friction caused by knowing that I'm going to have to pull out my phone and open the Google Sheet and put in what I bought, how much it was, is often enough to get me to not buy something. The little things add up to big expenses when we average them over a year. E-commerce is making billions by making it as easy as possible for you to spend your money. Take back control by spending mindfully. You don't have to live a restrictive life. Living below your means just means that your monthly income needs to be more than your monthly expenses. If you don't want to spend less, then you can also earn more. Again, simple, not easy. There are as many ways to make money as there are people on the planet. Those wonderful hobbies we talked about earlier, the things you're now doing for fun, well, if you get good enough at it, you can start making some money with it. You can start a small side hustle. Don't worry about the logistics. There'll be plenty of time for that if you decide to scale. Just have fun with it. If you make some money, bonus. Remember, life's a juggle. The more work you have in one area, the better it equips you for the others. To optimize your mental and your physical well-being, you also need to take care of your body. Your body is kind of similar to your bank account. Every time you eat or you do something, you make a transaction. Energy in, energy out. Inaction is also an action. Because if you're not doing anything, your body starts to deteriorate. But let's first focus on energy in. The optimal diet, your optimal diet, is as unique as you are. And if you want to learn more about it, I'm not the guy that can help you. You need to consult with your doctor, your nutritionist, and run a whole bunch of tests. That's not what I'm here for. There are enough people on the internet and in vivo telling you what to eat. I'm going to skip right to how to eat. And I'm not talking about a spork. I'm talking about mindfulness. Like I said, it's important. How does what you eat make you feel? If the food you eat makes you feel full and gives you sustained energy, then it's probably good. If it makes you feel lethargic, like melting into a couch and distracting yourself, it's probably bad. Without getting too much into the technical jargon though, you need to relax when you eat. When you eat under any type of pressure, your body assumes that you're trying to escape from a lion, which means that it's not worried about digesting the food. It's going to break it down as little as possible, store it as fat, and save it for later. But that later doesn't come because then there's more food. Instead, the best way to eat is to relax and pair your meal with great conversation and a tall glass of water. Every time you eat, have some water and take some sips. Breathe. Extend your meal. Take the time. Food is a luxury, not a chore. And this way, your body will be able to tell you when it's full. I think we've all eaten under pressure because we felt we had to. You force it down, you eat way too much, too fast, and then you spend the rest of the afternoon in a food coma. Your stomach feels like you ate a rock and your productivity crashes through the floor. So you take a coffee to try to lift yourself, but all it does is make you more edgy. Remember, breaks make you more productive. Enjoy your meal. Once you've enjoyed your meal, you're ready to start burning the energy that it gave you. Probably that means sitting in a chair for the rest of the day and maybe sliding in some exercise in the evening. But use it or lose it is particularly true when it comes to fitness. To maintain mobile freedom, you need to start actively working on it. Let's use the example of climbing a set of stairs. As you climb those stairs, you're fighting gravity, which engages your fast twitch muscles. These give you the strength to go up the stairs. Then, the repetitive nature of the stairs engages your slow twitch muscles, which keep you going step after step after step and give you the stability you need to not fall back down. These muscle fibers wouldn't work without a steady supply of energy, which is where your cardiovascular system steps in, and why your heart is usually pumping a lot more when you're at the top of the stairs than it was when you're at the bottom. These are the three S's of body: your strength, your strength, your strength, your stamina, and your stability. We will all age, and as we do, these things will only degrade. What you do now matters. And you can go to the gym for hours, pumping iron, running on a rubber band, and then stretching it out on a yoga mat. But for most of us, 6 hours at the gym every day is not realistic. In fact, real change happens outside of the gym, in the everyday choices that we make. When you choose to take the stairs instead of the escalator, you're adding a little workout to your day. If you have a break, you can do some push-ups. Just working some fitness into your life gives you more energy. When you don't want the feeling of helplessness that comes from losing your ability to move. For most of us, this is a choice, not genetics. If you keep living the way that you're living now, how will you feel and look in 10, 20, or 30 years? Is that the person you want to be? If not, today's the day to start moving. If you do, you can accomplish amazing things. While running the Prague Marathon with my brother, somewhere around kilometer 30, this little old lady passed us. She must have been at least 80. We were both healthy men in our 30s, but she passed us. She showed us what's possible if you keep at it, you stay fit, while shattering our egos. You don't need to go out and run a marathon tomorrow. Start where you are. If you haven't run in years, start by just going for a walk. 5 kilometers a day is a great way to start. Because the goal here isn't a quick fix. It's a sustainable lifestyle change. The more sustainable you make the change, the more likely it is to stick. When you juggle your mind, your money, and your body sustainably, you'll start to grow exponentially. You will be ready for whatever comes your way. It all comes down to pushing your mental, physical, and financial boundaries and getting out of your comfort zone before it squeezes you. Life isn't these big goals. Even a marathon, it's not 42.2 kilometers. It's it's two half marathons, just over 4 10Ks, or just over 8 5Ks. If you've done enough of the short runs, you can do the long one. Life is a marathon filled with sprints of productivity. Now that you're looking at your life in terms of mind, money, and body, it's your turn to do something challenging. Make it big, something that'll take months to accomplish, a mission. Then break it down into something you can do today. That's where sustainable habits come from. Having a goal big enough that you develop a habit while reaching it. Having a reason and a system is crucial. When you know what to do, how to do it, and why you want to do it, you become unstoppable. But it can be hard to figure it out on your own. It took me 3 years to figure mine out. You could have your system in place in as little as 12 weeks. Shall we have a call and see what's possible?